Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with
I'm
the
back. I'm back.
original OG, Mr. Richard Bartlett. How are you doing, my man?
I'm feeling good, mate. I'm feeling good. When we win, it's easier to come on and talk about the Villa. So, no, I'm pleased to be back. Yeah, good weekend to be an Aston Villa fan. So I'm looking forward to getting into it and talking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a fantastic weekend until maybe Arsenal didn't quite
Well, yeah,
do us the favour that they could have done. But look, we can only control what we can control. We'll get into that shortly because yeah, I don't think you can count on any football results at the moment. Even though we did like a running show with the last 3 games of last 3 weeks of the season, and we thought me, Kevin, Martin had it all sorted, but absolutely not. So yeah, we'll get into all that. We'll cover the game from yesterday, all the talking points, the atmosphere, your comments. Get your comments in, guys. Before we kind of go into everything, just to remind you all, I think we're approaching 1,450 subscribers, which is brilliant. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Help us spread the word of the channel. And if you do want to become a member of the channel, then please do click the link at the top. It's pinned in the chat and follow the instructions, or click the join button when you go into our channel and follow the instructions there. But anything is a massive, massive appreciation. I'll get into some comments straight away. Rich, Brett is saying, please don't mention Europe. It's done. Look, like I said, we can't rely on too much on any other results. All we can do is our own. Marine says, why don't the Villa View and the Villa podcast and UTV podcast and Stato and the Paddies all get together and create an Aston Villa fans channel like Toffee TV or Arsenal? Look, we might be able to do something in the pre-season, and I'm sure. I mean, we've had Luke on before from UTV podcast, haven't we? We've had Max on
yep,
before, Rich
yeah.
from Villa on tour. We've had Dan on from Villa View before, so yeah, we're more than welcome to do something with them. AJ's in the house. Good evening, mate. Duncan is in. Good evening, Duncan. Michael, evening all. Great day at Villa Park yesterday, and fantastic to meet you and your son, Richard. It was absolutely fantastic to meet you too, mate. And it was great. I mean, I think there was 3 or 4 people that I think there was Blue. I'll have to remember his name. I remember his name on here, Baby Blue or something like that on who watches the show. Baby Bloom, I think he's called. Came up as we were walking out of the ground saying, "Oh, great job on the podcast, Rich. Really appreciate it." There was someone who shouted out from the car, "Rich Villa Park Pod, yes, yes, yes," and it was great. And Michael, like I say, fantastic to meet you. And Dale was messaging on Twitter and asked me to shout out his give his son a shout out. So yeah, there you go, Dale. I'm giving your lad a shout out. Dale Faultless on Twitter said give his lad a shout out. He's 2 in August, and one of his first words was Villa. So
Yeah,
yeah,
brilliant.
amazing, amazing. So yeah,
Superb,
thanks
Dale.
for watching, guys. And look, it's amazing to see people who watch the show and appreciate what we do, and we appreciate you watching us and getting your comments in. So fantastic. Molly boy, good evening. Rachel, evening to you, Rachel. Samba Brazil, Villa Samba Brazil, evening from Brazil. Great stuff. Love
Oh,
what you
wow.
do. Obrigado. Thank you very much. Um, Arsenal, so Spursy, absolutely, Lee. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Molly boy, dominant yesterday, and Kane, Penn, everyone I think know it was a dive. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. Duncan, I'll come to your comment in a bit later. Michael saying it's still all to play for. Dale, hello lad, sorry I'm late. Not a problem, mate. Just gave your son a shout out, so thank you. Gary, buenas tardes, everyone. Hopefully Europe is still on. Mark's in the house, evening, guys. And Alfie says evening. Good evening to you all. Thank you. 33 watching already. Hit that like button, guys. Please help us keep growing. Willie Moyes is in the house, evening from north of the border. Great to have you on board. So, mate, I spotted you from the bottom of the whole tent right to the Trinity Road stand. I know you have a great view. I've been in your seat before, but before the game, I mean, I was sort of going around the ground, and I just caught the team on the phone. Um, were you a little bit surprised after, like, we talked about all the players coming back? You know, the likes of Matty Cash back in and Kamara back in the squad, and Leon Bailey back in the squad. Were you surprised that kind of Bailey was the only one that was brought in?
Um, yeah, I mean, look, the Diego Carlos as well is back in the fold now, and there's I, he knows what he's got with the majority of that first 11. I think if it wasn't Bailey, it would have been Traore, and I think he's got a soft spot for Bailey, and it was the right decision. If it, from we'll talk about the first goal, I'm sure. It's an interesting one, Bailey, and I know he gets spoken a lot about the some of the bad things he does on this podcast, but he's a winger that attacks fullbacks, and you only need one thing to go right in a game, and you create a goal. So I think when I saw the Spurs lineup, actually, I felt he could get at them a bit more than Traore. I think Traore slows the game down a little bit when he gets the ball, whereas Bailey, if he's got space to run into, and they were playing, well, it looked like they were playing a back three with wing backs, but there was space for him to get into. So I think he's got players now that he trusts. McGinn, Luiz, Ramsey are always going to be there or thereabouts the starting 11. Evening, Sam. And the back four picks itself. So yeah, it didn't really surprise me. What about yourself?
I was a wee bit. I mean, we were talking about obviously Ashley Young maybe needing a bit of a rest, and thought if Cash was kind of had a full week's training, whether he would get the shirt, and particularly against someone like Son, and whether we need the pace. I know Cash isn't the best one-on-one defender, so there's obviously pros and cons with both players. But I was a little bit surprised out. I don't think I was too surprised that Bailey started. And I was maybe expecting Kamara maybe to feature somewhere in the starting lineup, but yeah, it was one of those. I mean, like you said, he trusts his players, and I think it was Tony Cascarino. I've seen a clip of him on TalkSport saying, what a great job Emery's done. But he says, like, it's almost like the team picks itself. Now that's a benefit and a drawback, because you can't always freshen it up, and it's looked like we've been a bit leggy and we've been a bit tired. But at the same time, if you've been putting all your effort into those players and coaching all those players, you know that you can trust them, which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah, I saw that quote from Cascarino, and he also said, how Villa are going to play. And I think that's a little bit of a backhanded compliment, really, because teams are coming up against us, knowing how we're going to play, and still not being able to get the better of us. Well, certainly Spurs on Saturday, anyway.
Yeah. Anything from you, Sam? First of all, great to have you on board, mate. Thank you for jumping on. Anything from you on the starting lineup? Were you expecting to see anybody else come in, or were you happy with what was on offer?
I think it's like you said. You have to excuse me. My voice is absolutely dead from the atmosphere of Villa Park.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Forget the starting lineup. Start with the atmosphere of Villa Park. Incredible. I kind of share the same sentiments as Rich. There were players able to come back or feature in the starting lineup. The Kamaras and the Cashes of the world. I think. I thought it would be about the same. I thought he might bring in Kamara and put McGinn out on the right instead of Bailey, but I guess he knew what he was doing, didn't he? So I left it as it was.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll come to some comments. I've got so many comments flying in, so I will come to them. Please just bear with me. But with regards to that, we've seen it, particularly in home games, where as Sean said, Leon Bailey has started games really well. Like, I think it was it United at home he scored early? Was it Brentford, obviously before Emery came in? Leeds at home he scored early. And I think it was Palace where he set up the goal, or Bournemouth where he set up the goal, and obviously on Saturday sets up the goal against Spurs. And he seems to be one of those players who catches a defender on their heels a little bit early on in a game, and and maybe that's something that Emery has seen in him, and obviously it paid dividends on Saturday as well again.
Yeah, I think.
Go on.
Sorry, Rich. No, I think. I mean, you take it on face value. Don't. I mean, let's not underplay or overplay. What he did. The ball was given to him in space. He had the time to kind of look up, picked out Jacob Ramsey. It was a nice pass. It was a nice assist. And he deserves full credit for that after what's been a difficult season for him and maybe not living up to the expectation or the promise that he showed. But I don't think he was great in the first half. I know I saw on I use an app called FootMob, and at the end of the game, I saw Leon Bailey had been voted man of the match, and my head was all over the place.
Yeah, I use FotMob as well. I hadn't noticed that, to be honest, but
Yeah,
I'd seen a compilation of some of the stuff that he did. I mean, obviously I think that's how we signed him. We saw like a YouTube compilation and thought,
yeah,
he looks good, but
I think Leon Bailey does that, doesn't he? Like he'll go past 2 or 3 players, and that's great for a highlight reel. But then at the end of that move, he loses the ball, and then he's kind of caught upfield, and it's got to track back. I don't have the Kev agenda against Bailey.
I
just thought he was okay.
Yes.
I don't think he was spectacular. I don't think he was terrible. And when he came off, I thought just for about maybe 20 minutes before he came off, I thought he was pretty ineffective. So
I agree. I think, like Rich, I know we I think the three of us aren't necessarily massive, Leon Bailey fans. We understand that winger is. A winger type position is always going to be inconsistent, and also in an Emery system, that right hand side at this moment in time, the system that is playing, that right hand side doesn't get the ball a lot anyway. Rich, like he's an option out on that right hand side, but most of our play comes down the left, so at times he's going to be that kind of spare part, isn't he?
Yeah, I also think that Moreno gets forward a hell of a lot on the left-hand side, and you're not going to get that with Ashley Young. So you do. I mean, you saw with the goal, we won the ball back on the left-hand side, and it came across the pitch, and eventually it got to him. It's just a headache in that defenders know what he has got in his locker. And Sam, you're right. He'll skip past a few players, and usually he'll lose the ball, and he'll fool himself somehow and try something that won't work. He loves to cut in, and he's dangerous if he can get on his left foot and get a shot off. And so I always think, I remember when we had Grealish in the team, other players around him looked good because the opposition knew what Grealish could do with the ball. I'm not comparing Bailey to Grealish, but just the danger that he's got with his speed, it's just a headache. And whether he executes on that in a game or not, he keeps defenders guessing. He stretches the play. And look, as I said, I don't think Young often sees the opposition half really. So on the right-hand side, the ball doesn't get through to him that much. He goes up the left quite a lot. Ramsey getting the ball and pushing forward. So he's not always in the game. So I think sometimes the criticism of him is a little unfair when he's not been in the game. But he certainly wasn't man of the match for me either on Saturday. But he was a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, he assisted the key goal and got us off to a great start. And obviously the guy who scored it, Jacob Ramsey, I think that's 5 goals for the season, Premier League goals for the season, all at home I would add, and then he's got 5 assists. So, it's all about stats these days, isn't it? So they're saying he's had 10 goal involvements and all that jazz. I mean, I don't know what that's meant to mean, but all being said. That being said, Sam, great finish and yeah, good. I thought he was more effective yesterday in his overall performance as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it was a really nice move, kind of started by Ramsey, and I like that he was following it up. He played the ball out to Leon Bailey. He didn't feel like my job's done. He followed it up, and to the kind of desire and to get ahead of the man and finish that first. It wasn't easy because there was a man on him, but yeah, brilliant. I mean, you'll take that as long as the rest of the team are doing their job. Leon Bailey only has to have a couple of moments like that. You don't need him firing all the time.
Precisely.
And maybe that's a good confidence booster for him. I mean, look, we know he's got talent. I think he's low on confidence. I think the speed and the the sort of ferocity of the league is a bit maybe overwhelming for him at times. I think the kind of strength and the physicality of the league is a bit rough. But he did well, and we'll take it. I mean, I said this about Ollie Watkins last time I was on. The question is, do you think we could do better? If I ask the same question about Bailey, the answer is 100%. And like Rich was saying about Moreno gets forward like loads, and he plays as, I know, a left wing back, but he really is actually just a left back and a left winger all in one. So I feel like there's definitely more. He gets involved so much. Leon Bailey could do that on the other side, but I feel like people trust Moreno more, which is why we naturally drift out to our left-hand side more. But yeah, can we also just take a second? One of the comments, Gary's asked if I'm in a sauna.
Where's this?
Is Sam in a sauna? You've got to get that up, Gary. The answer is no. But if people would like to do the super chats and become members of, so that Rich can get me a proper camera, I'd really appreciate it. What a quality comment that is.
Sam, I thought you were going to say if more join as members, you'll do it from a sauna.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say.
That might put people off. Yeah.
Yeah, no one wants to see that, Richard. I can read the room. I'll read the room.
To be fair, I thought you were referring to the comment, a couple of comments above from Nigel.
I love that. Brilliant.
I'm in full agreement with you, Nigel. I am in full agreement with you. Sensible conversation tonight, absolutely, mate. Let's get into some comments anyway. Let's just see what we've got. Gary, only Europe will get now is by watching Eurovision next year. Oh, come on, Gary.
Gary's
you're in Sam's camp, but we'll get into that later. Big T said, I said 2+ goals, just got the prediction wrong, saying 4-2. I said at the start of the season, as long as we finish in the top 10, I'm happy. It's looked like it's going that way. Duncan Bailey will come good next season with better players around him. Rachel, top 10 will be a great season from where we were under Gerrard. Still a good win yesterday, though. I refuse to talk about Europe with Brighton having games in hand unless we win the last 2 and Brighton flop under tiredness. Look, all we can do is control what we can control. Aaron's back. Yes, Aaron. Get you to say Leon Bailey. That would be brilliant. Don't get me started on, what that says. Watkins, every time him and his girl do them things, he can't score. Aurelio Gomez says, go back and watch the podcast from when we lost against Fulham and SG got the bullet. Then temper. It's been a great season, whatever. And Emery is managing Villa. Life is good. Absolutely. Michael said, at this point in the season, I won't go hard on any players as we need their confidence up. So Bailey's the new Tony Morley for me. Dale says, forget Brighton. We've got to a point better than Spurs. Ahead of us on goal difference. Conference would be a massive achievement. 100%, mate. I think wherever we are, just on that. Is it 57 points we've got now? And our previous highest since we got promoted was 55. So we've already beaten that. And then I think Villa Stato said something about if we get one more win, I think we've equaled or we've bettered our previous best wins in the top division or something like that. So, I mean, I know Unai's love breaking records at the moment. So, regardless of where we finish in the league, let's say, I mean, the other teams, Spurs apparently having an awful season. Brighton are having a great season. But Brentford are now coming up. But regardless of that, Rich, it's still been, a phenomenal kind of last, 6-7 months?
Yeah, I mean, where we were left when Gerrard, exited Villa Park, on paper, you had some good players with zero confidence. There was no identity. I know I used to love saying that word. And I was talking to someone during the week, and Emery's, he signed Moreno, and he's tweaked the team around, but his coaching squad have got on to the grass with the players and really worked with them on where they should. I mean, look, there's still a lot of improvements. I still think Buendia gets a little bit lost during games, and I don't think that connection that we would like for him to have from midfield to attack happens as often as we would like. but he's worked miracles. One of the comments earlier were the type of players we should get. Is it younger players? Is it more experienced players? I think you've got Kamara, who's been in and out of the team because of injury. So he's probably missed about 3 months of football. Carlos has been out for the majority of the season. Kamara, for me, as good as McGinn has played in the last 4 or 5 months, next season I'm super excited to see. He's a Rolls Royce of a footballer. I'm just excited to see him control the midfield and let Dougie push forward a little bit more, create a bit more, and I think Ramsey's chances or starts will be limited once he's back in the team.
Well, they've all got to step up, haven't they? That's the point. You know, you know, there's a spot for Ramsey, definitely, particularly on that performance yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, he's the only player at the moment who can carry the ball at pace, who can get us territory. He's got a goal in him, obviously.
Yeah.
So I do like him, but I agree on Kamara. I think I'd like to see him kind of be able to last 20 to 25 games in a row. Whereas at the moment he does like 10 to 15 and then he's injured for 2 or 3 months. Not his fault, but like Sam said about the physicality of the Premier League, that's something that I'm sure that he's gonna have to get used to.
I think
sorry,
go on, Sam. No, go on. I was just going to say, I think Ramsey's versatility to play in a midfield 3 or a front 3 as well will really help him.
Yeah.
He's the only player really that can do that switch. So you're right, there's loads of positives about him, but with Kamara fit, I don't think he'll make that midfield 3 as often as he would like anyway.
Yeah. I think, you know, he's super talented. A lot of people talking about him for Young Player of the Year in the league and stuff like that. I mean, he won't win it because you've got Martinelli and Saka in that bracket. But he's, I think he's one of the players. And correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think of all the players since who have improved since Emery's come in, I think he's improved the least. As in, like I think he may have been that good to start with that it's hard to improve him. But I think competition for him next year will be a big thing because he's on his day, he's got everything and he's absolutely class. But I think he can go quiet in games as well. And I think he needs that coaching. I think he needs to be, you know, he needs to be better over a longer period of time in a game and not have those moments like he had against Spurs. He had really good moments, but other parts of the game he went quite quiet. So I think maybe a bit of competition. Hope he's learning off, you know, Coutinho and even Buendia to a certain extent. You know, there are certain things that Buendia does that Jacob Ramsey could really benefit from. So he's a good player. He will get it with time. But I think I agree with Rich. I don't see him as often in the starting lineup next year.
Yeah. Gary says our record in signing proper wingers isn't great. El Ghazi, Tres, Traore, Leon, etc. We need to get it right to kick on, especially if we need 2 of them. Yeah, I agree. Villa Samba Brazil says I wouldn't be surprised if Cash was moved on in the next window. Just got a hunch that he's not what Emery is looking for.
I agree with
maybe
that.
So. Yeah. JB08 says Leon needs space to run into. We have him. Willie says great display by the whole team, but who do you think we should go for in the next summer? Players with experience or younger players to build for the next 2 or 3 years? Let's park that. I think that's a good question to kind of discuss in a bit. So keep that to mind, lads, and just have a think about that. Leon needs space to run into. We haven't quite misunderstood. So very much like a Harvey Barnes, we don't do it enough for him. We expect him to beat 2 or 3 men, and that isn't his game. He does definitely get doubled up on, but that, like I say, that's that part where that fullback doesn't get beyond him, maybe to give him another option.
And if you look at like a player like Harvey Barnes, like the goal he scored against us, he was level or just behind Ashley Young when that ball came in over the top. One touch, power, pace.
Yes. Directness.
Yeah.
Leon Bailey doesn't have that. So even if you give it to him over the top, Ashley Young did it a couple of times against Spurs over the top, and Leon Bailey, who had the fumbles with the first touch, he takes a touch and he turns his body back towards the goal. So he doesn't have that directness. I don't think he's as good as a Harvey Barnes, and a lot of people are saying he needs space to run into. I don't disagree, but I think Leon Bailey's whole USP is that he takes players on, is that he can beat a man, and sometimes he'll beat a man and he'll turn around and try and do it again.
Yeah.
So it's like I get where the comments are coming from. I have to, if I'm being honest, I say that I disagree.
Yeah, I do. I think I think he almost overthinks. Like it's way better when he just gets the ball and does the first thing that, like, whether it's instinct or whether it's whatever. I just think that when he tries to think it too much, he then kind of gets caught in between 2 or 3 different options. Like that one on the when he sets up the goal, he really only had one. I mean, he could have cut in and shot, but the ball and his controlling touch took him where he had to drop his shoulder and then go and then put it in on his right foot. And then the 2 decent crosses that he put in with the similar thing where he's got the defender faced up and then he's gone. When he's getting the ball and he's receiving it, Ashley Young, with his back to goal, very often that he just gets swarmed on, and then he's struggling for where and what to do. So, yeah, I agree. There's I think with the Harvey Barnes type player, he kind of knows what he's going to do with it almost. Like he'll just give it first time on that one, and then he'll move off, and then he'll wait for that moment when he, like a similar thing what he did with Ashley Young, and he'll just go for that jugular and go for goal. Whereas I think Bailey needs to kind of think of that a little bit more. Paul says, hi, Rich, and Sam. How are you guys? We're doing great, mate. With the Brighton result is between Spurs and Villa for 7th. Can Brentford beat Spurs? We win against Liverpool and win against Brighton, but Leeds draw with Spurs. Look, I think today and the other days have shown us that we can't talk about too many other teams' results. We've just got to focus on ourselves. I know we've been having a lot of conversation in the chat, but yeah, it's so difficult to say. Dale says 3 signings of 40 to 50 million each will be a bonus. Pau Torres, Ferran Torres, and Guendouzi. That'd be pretty good, mate. Depends on Brentford beating Spurs and we beat Brighton. Hopefully have Europe by then. We'll have to see. We'll 4 or 5 big name signings in the summer. We already have the squad players. Yeah. Shouting out now, next week is the last game for our women, so please get down to support them and bring your flags out for the nation of your fave player against Brighton. Yeah, well, women, I think have they had a game this weekend? No, it was the FA Cup final, wasn't it?
It was,
it was Chelsea United.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's Liverpool next week.
Right, okay. JB said we need someone electric, someone who terrifies the opposition, bums off seat player. I've no idea who that is, but I know we'll be trying for one. Yeah, 100%.
Coming back.
Yeah, Grealish. Money talks, you pay it, most will come, says Duncan. Gary saying Watkins has reverted to type, unfortunately. I think he just needs a goal, doesn't he? Yeah. Still say Watkins would be more left wing. Go on. Sorry, yeah. Let's talk Watkins, because we did have a few chances in that towards the end of that. We've throughout that first half. One of them being to Watkins. I know it was a great ball across from Moreno, but is he kind of getting found out a little bit at this moment in time?
I call him. I even said this whilst he was in form, and look, we love Ollie Watkins. He's part of the fabric of Villa, so it's not about attacking him personally, but he's a purple patch player, and he always has been. He has. Why am I in a brothel? What's going on? Is there something about my surroundings today that's making it?
I mean, you've taken your pants off and put them behind you, Sam.
I was just getting really hot because I was in the sauna. So
yeah, true.
I think if everyone can stop looking at my pants in the background, if my lights are on.
No brothel now. Yeah, you saw it.
No brothel now. If only you could see what's going on under the table. I think with Ollie Watkins, I was saying it before. He's a purple patch. He's a purple patch player. He has good periods in a season. He's not very consistent, and I also think as well when he's not scoring, I don't think he contributes a lot. I saw someone talk about the little flick that he did to Jacob Ramsey just before the first goal, and I mean, it's just such a basic bit of skill. Like it's not anything super impressive or, anything to lose your head over, but people really want Watkins to succeed. I feel like if you said to me the first signing we should go out and make this summer, for me, it's a striker and then wingers. That's my priority. And if we only got 3 players, we got a striker and 2 wingers, I'd be happy. I really like Ollie Watkins. He's not good enough to lead the line for Villa for where we want to get to. I just don't think he goes through so many. The last 5 games since Newcastle, honestly, Rich, he hasn't done a thing.
No,
He
I
really
get
hasn't.
that. I get that. But if we rewind back to the conversation about Bailey, you've got Bailey playing one side of him, and we've criticised Bailey doesn't do enough in a game. You've got Buendia dropping deep behind him. Watkins has always got two centre halves around him. So, like, I agree, he's a bit of a purple patch player. You need to spread the game. He's very good at getting shots off and scoring from tight angles. He's very good. Sometimes some of his goals, I've thought before he scored, he's pushed it too wide there. But when it gets congested, he can't find the space. And I
He
think
needs
what
too
Villa,
many, Rich. He needs too many. He needs
yeah,
too many chances. His conversion rate, and I don't, I've seen people talk about like his actual conversion rate, and it's not bad. But if you look at the chances that he's missed, that's gone from blocks, or he's pushed it too wide, or his first touch has let him down, or like people talk about Buendia and his goals and assists, like. Every game I watch Buendia, he's so involved in the play, and he does occupy space, and he does take players, and he does turn. He brings other people into the game. He's kind of like I really like Buendia, and I think his output needs to be more his actual results. But I think in general, at least he's contributing to the game. I don't remember Ollie Watkins making more than 5 meaningful touches against Spurs. I really don't.
yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I think there's a lot more that can be done when you're playing in midfield than when you're up front.
Yeah,
If you don't get the ball, you will have seen Kane drop quite deep in he didn't really do it in a little bit in the first half
he does
because.
that. Yeah,
He does.
But he
Yeah,
can
he
do
does.
that because he's got two strikers in Richarlison and Son in front of him. He can do that.
And Richarlison
Watkins
hardly
can't do
touched the
it.
ball either.
No, he
Yeah,
didn't at all.
I think it's because Harry Kane can play the ball though as well. Rich has got more to his game.
Oh
Like
yeah,
Harry
yeah,
Kane's
yeah.
passing range is ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Ollie Watkins doesn't have that ability.
No,
He doesn't.
no.
So if he's not scoring them chances like you say, where he's through in and he nicks it into the corner or just under the keeper, I just don't see what he's offering apart from running
Yeah,
around the back.
I do think that part of that has been told to him by Emery or the coaching staff. I think a lot of it has been said like, stay in this lane, stay in your lane, and we will get you chances, or we'll get you the ball. And for whatever reason, at the moment, we haven't been able to get him too much in those positions. I mean, he could have scored in the first half yesterday. I think that was a chance he could have got, but we're not seeing so much of that Watkins just running his arse off all across the pitch. And I think some of that has been said, like, channel it. We'll get you the ball, stay in that area. And I think even Watkins has said it himself. The problem is when that's working, when you're scoring, it's brilliant. It's like, oh yeah, he doesn't get involved in it too much, but he's scoring goals. When you don't get involved, when you are told to do that and you're not getting involved again, that's when people say, hang on a minute, well, what's he doing?
But when the chance comes to him, Rich, like for example, do you remember that header against Wolves?
Yeah. I
That's
agree.
That's his time to do his job.
Yeah.
And it's not like the keeper's pulled off a great save or he was under a lot of pressure. He just fluffed it.
Yeah. Or the one against was it Crystal Palace or Bournemouth where Buendia puts him through and it's like 1-on-1 just past the post, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's that.
Dream Villains just put a comment in that I fully agree with. I don't know if you want to put that up at the bottom, but I think that
not instinctive enough, needs too many touches.
I agree with that. I just don't think I don't think he's that all that. I don't think that it comes naturally to him what he needs to do. And Watkins is absolutely brilliant. If you're, I think he'd be brilliant at Brentford. I think he'd be brilliant at Palace. Someone who's Fulham. Someone who's like in the top half of the table, challenging top half of the table, but would be happy to get 8th, 9th, push for 7th. If Villa really want to push on and really try and make a European charge next season, I'm not comfortable with him being our only senior striker. I just think that I wouldn't mind him even as a squad player or to come on or impact the game. But I think as the only option we've got, I just don't think it's good enough.
Yeah. Look, I've got this. I mean, we've got loads of people watching, so it's amazing. The comments coming in are fantastic. I'll give another shout out to our to get the likes and up and the subscriptions up. So hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're well on the way to 1,500. If you do want to become a member and become an official Villa Park Pod follower, do click the link at the top of the description. It's pinned, and follow the instructions. It's only $1.99 a month, less than a third of a cost of a pint of beer, to help us with the channel. And yeah, you get an official shout out and a nice little green symbol, as Duncan, Michael, Rachel have got already. So yeah, do help and support the channel if you can obviously, look, you can still enjoy our wonderful content, but if you want to support the channel further, then please become a member.
Get Sam a camera and somewhere else to hang.
Get Sam a camera. He doesn't
Yeah.
He doesn't have to. He could get a proper. He could get a washing line. He doesn't have to put his pants on the radiator and everything.
Yeah. I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to be like, for the love of God, I'm going to put a lock on this room. Honestly, he wasn't there 5 minutes ago. Like, if I raise attention to it, if I get up and move the pants, it's going to be a thing.
I was going to message you, but I thought,
Fuck's sacred. God.
Sorry, man.
Rich Edwards is in. Hi guys. Hi Rich. Great to have you on board. Adam Skiz in. Good day, people from Australia. Thank you, mate, for joining. I'll do some signings talk later. Nigel said we get to 8th, no problem, no distractions next year. 7th is great too. Win-win. Looking good for next year either way. Lowest position for Europe is 7th, I believe, Rich. Emery has built confidence in this squad, says Michael. Adamski's go on, sorry, mate.
I was going to say, just on that, I don't think Emery can lose with a narrative this season, because if he doesn't make it into Europe, the narrative will be we didn't have enough time. If you join a month or two earlier, then perhaps not getting to Europe is a bit of a failure. But like, we were in 11th for so long, and we were so many points behind Spurs, for example, even back in the middle of March. So I think the momentum will carry through. Players that don't play for Villa that we go after will see what Emery's done, and they'll acknowledge that he just didn't have enough time to get us to where we wanted to get to. And I think Villa will be a place that a lot of players are thinking about coming to next season. And I do think, I know we'll touch on it later, I think we're in a position, for me, where we don't necessarily need to worry about those younger, inexperienced players. We've got to make some statement signings.
Mm-hmm. Adamski says, thought we were good until the hour mark, then went off script except for our defenders. So let's talk a bit second half. I was really disappointed in Spurs. I mean, it was obviously to our benefit. I felt like they were just strolling about the pitch. It was almost as if it was like a bit of a pre-season game, up until they made a couple of substitutions and starting to put us under a bit of pressure. And then up steps Douglas Luiz and Sam. We've talked a lot about our set pieces and our quality of free kick, but I think it was maybe slightly helped out by the goalkeeper, but can't argue with the finish.
Oh, so obviously, I don't know if everyone here is following us on Twitter, but I took a video. I was obviously at the game and took a video of the free kick. Seconds before that, I was sat with my mate and I said to him, I can't remember the last time Villa scored a free kick. It's probably Conor Hourihane, and we were pointing in the whole end where we thought it was going to go. I was like, I reckon it'll go back there. He pointed over there. I went, you know what? I said to him, now we've said that. Let's let me record it because it's going to go in. And then it went. I think Fraser Force has got to do better. But sometimes the challenge is getting it on target. That's I think Gundogan today for Man City scored a very similar free kick.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
like bang in the corner. But sometimes you just have to count on the goalkeeper maybe not reacting quick enough or over committing on one side that feel very safe with the ball, which is what Fraser Forster did. And he's put it in a place where it can go in, and it's gone in. So fair play to him, and he was brilliant yesterday as well.
Fantastic.
He deserved that goal. Very, very happy for him.
Yeah. Sam, just a quick question. That Conor Hourihane free kick you were mentioning there, that was the one against Blackburn, right?
I think it was. The one went all the way around the.
Yeah, if you stick in YouTube or Google Aston Villa versus Blackburn, Richard Sutherland rant, you'll find a video where Richard Sutherland, our trusted leader, was abusing Steve Bruce and his coaching methods, and then Hourihane just like pinged that one in. It was a bottom corner, wasn't he? Just
just round the wall.
I've never seen a man stick something in reverse as quick as he did.
Thanks for reminding us that. We did only draw that game, by the way.
I'm getting absolute pelters for my room and my camera. What is this? This is a light. It's not. a brothel or anything. It's just the light. I'm not in a sauna. It's
You
not
can't sit in the
steamy.
dark either. You can't sit in the dark. Look,
Yeah,
Sam, just don't worry, Sam. Don't
But
worry.
yeah,
If I could, I'd be going really red right now.
Yeah.
the thing
Actually,
is, Sam,
I think
it's not
I think
like you were sat in the box watching the Villa yesterday. You know, you've got a couple of quid to get a new camera yourself. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
I'm
But
waiting for the members.
but
Luca Dean scored the last free kick, I think, against Man United.
He
Yeah,
did.
he did.
The
Yeah,
free
you're right.
the free kick, yeah. I thought Forster could have done better, but you know, you got to get it on target. You see some of those free kicks go, as you and your mate pointed out, somewhere in the whole end, wide over. You know, you just got to get on target. He got a hand to it. He should have done better. I don't think Pickford got a hand to the one earlier, but
No.
Forster's probably going to watch that back and be a bit disappointed. And I want to say that it was Watkins that drew the foul, wasn't it? Romero came through
Yes.
the back of him, so he had a little bit of a use yesterday. But it was a great free kick. I think I've watched. So I sit with Kev at the Villa. I've watched Kev get his phone out maybe 100 times filming free kicks, and he finally got one. So he was chuffed with that.
Nice one. Well, I mean that kind of then. I mean, Aiden, took my lad with me yesterday, and he was like, "Dad, it's done now. It's done now." And I was like, "You of all people should not be saying that, because you're the only person who's seen the 3-2, all of the 3-2 defeats that we've received in the last minute. Wolves, Tottenham, and Leeds back in the Championship days. He's seen all of them. So I said, you of all people should not be saying that. But you know, we're under a different manager now, and even though Tottenham, you know, Harry Kane got his usual penalty. They did have one great chance, a great save by Martinez, but other than that, I think they were pretty toothless, to be honest. And again, like I say, I mean, I'd get your thoughts on the penalty, Rich, but also your thoughts on Tottenham as a whole.
Oh, mate, they're an embarrassment. I've got a good friend who's a Spurs fan, and we said before the game, like, win, lose or draw, we won't give each other too much shit. And I messaged him at half time, and I was like, look, I'm just, as an observer, you know, there's no bias to this. You don't know what you're doing. You've got 200 million quid's worth of talent up front, and they don't look interested. You can't get the ball to them. You said it earlier, it looked like a preseason friendly almost, and they've got so much to play for, and they've had such a bad relationship with their fans recently. You think they'd come to the Villa, they'd be up for it. Glorious day to play football, and yeah, I was just so unimpressed with what they had to offer. They, as you said, they made some of the changes 10, 15, 20 minutes into the second half, and it made a slight change, but Skip doesn't deserve to be a Premier League football player.
No, he was very poor.
He just runs around. Richarlison looked crap. Kane didn't look interested. And
I thought Pedro Porro as well didn't look like he kind of knew where to play. He didn't. Sometimes he was stepping into midfield. Sometimes he was going forward on as a wing back, and then sometimes he was staying back. I just felt like he was. I don't know. Like you say, they just look so disjointed. And Emerson Royale was just strolling about quite a bit. And it was, like I say, it wasn't until Kulusevski came on, and he played well against us last season, but it wasn't until he came on where they started to really actually cause us a few problems. But a part of me, I mean, I don't want to say this because he got the penalty, but part of me was just like feeling a little bit sorry for Harry Kane, because he was chasing and everyone else was just walking about. And I was thinking, well, if I was him, I'd be like, what's the point here?
Mate, I thought to myself, he's halfway on the way to Manchester now. He may as well just carry on up and have a few chats with United and City, because he's got to go. Like, he must look round and think it's too big of a job for him to try and drag the rest of the team along with him.
Yeah. Do you think as well, Sam, it's a bit like, you know, obviously they brought Ryan Mason in, and I don't know, he seems like a nice guy. He's almost like you work in a shop, and he's almost like the assistant. He's like the assistant manager who takes charge of the store on a Sunday, and everyone just messes about on a Sunday. You're never going to hit your sales target on a Sunday. You're just waiting for the manager to turn up on the Monday. Like he just no one's listening to him.
I think so. I grew up in like North London from like the age of 12. I grew up at, like, my mum's house is right next to a Spurs training ground. Almost all my mates are Spurs fans or Arsenal fans. And I was actually I took my best mate who's a Spurs fan to the game yesterday, and the sentiment around Ryan Mason is Spurs fans actually love him, and the players seem to react with him. And I mean, they weren't yesterday, but in general, they've been a lot better than they've been under Conte and Stellini. I think Spurs yesterday were exactly how you would want a team to come and play at Villa Park when you're searching for a win. I thought they were pretty awful. I don't think any player was any worse than the other. I thought they were all crap.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people talk about the second half. The first half, we got a stat in the group yesterday, and they had 0 shots on target, 0 shots off target, 0 pass, 0 this. It was ridiculous. And I just think the second half they improved slightly, but I still felt like we were the aggressors in the second half. We kept catching them out with this high line that has taken a bit of flack on Match of the Day. I don't know if you boys saw that, but
I put a tweet out and it's got like ridiculous responses to it. But I obviously watched Match of the Day expecting them to say, great performance from Villa, some really good individual performances.
No,
and
second
it was
from last,
it was second from last. It was a loving with Sean Wright-Phillips and Ian Wright, and they were just like bantering each other. Didn't discuss anything to do with Villa, and just talked about Tottenham, and then talked about us potentially being caught out with the high line in previous games, like in future games, not considering the fact that Unai picks specific tactics for specific games and changes tactics within games to affect that actual outcome of the game. So, like, I just think it was, I don't know whether it was an off day with him, but it was just ridiculous punditry. And to suggest that it was just an accident that we kept catching Tottenham offside is just, I don't know, it was just ridiculous.
They showed the graphic as well. They're like, since Unai Emery came in, Villa have had 92 or the opposition offside 92 times, and the second closest was like 56. Clearly isn't an accident. And Sean Wright-Phillips was saying, "Oh, I'd love to play against this Villa." Shut the fuck up, man. Who are you talking about? Like, "Oh, I'd love to play against this team." Shut up. You were shit when you were playing, and you're shit now. It's the worst pundit that he's a player. But I just look, I understand that, look, Villa are going under the radar, and I'm absolutely fine with it. I said this 3 months ago when we first really started to pop. And I said, it's fine. Let people continue to underestimate us. Let people kind of wash away the high line as just a bad Spurs performance, because then people won't pick up on it. But I think Spurs were really bad yesterday. We were really good. I mean, I don't know if you spoke about this before I came on, but I can't believe that I've been here for 40 minutes and we haven't mentioned how good McGinn was yesterday. Oh my god!
To be fair, mate, we haven't mentioned it, and I was literally just teeing it up because I was going to talk in individual performances, and I know we covered Luiz and one or two other players, but Adamski said there McGinn was on another level yesterday.
Oh my god!
I think it was Gary Howlett said McGinn man of the match by a mile.
Yeah.
I mean, just pure.
Well, I
think that's his best game in a Villa shirt. He's had some good ones.
He absolutely ran it, and to be fair to him, I mean, we could argue that he didn't really have a lot of a massive contest in the middle. He just kind of ran the game, but the way he was turning, he's using his arse. It was the McGinn of old. It was like a championship McGinn, but in the Premier League, and he was just fantastic. He was by a country mile man of the match. He was the heart of everything good. He was transition from defense to attack. He was brilliant, and that McGinn stays in this team and stays as captain and keeps everyone happy. And if he can continue, obviously not them levels, because the best game he's ever played for Villa, arguably, you don't expect that every week. But if he can just do more of that, and and keep a similar level on a weekly basis, he'll be the first name on the team sheet because he's instrumental yesterday in everything that we did.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. My favourite moment after the goals in the game was McGinn dropped a bit deeper and rolled Kane and put him on using his arse. He put Kane on his arse.
That was brilliant.
He was just fantastic.
He did it twice.
He wasn't afraid to get the ball. He was the absolute heartbeat. Adam's just put there, does McGinn start if Luiz and Kamara are fit and in form? You know what? I think that gives us a more consistent McGinn if they are in the team, because Kamara can just do that defensive role and McGinn can get forward a bit more.
I think now McGinn plays on the right until we sign some wingers. You have, which is what happened before Kamara got injured. You'd have Kamara and Luiz in the middle, Buendia ahead of them, John McGinn on the right, Ramsey on the left, Ollie Watkins up front. So I think he does. And when Kamara came on, John McGinn actually went to the right.
He did. Yeah, he did. He did.
So I reckon
he did well out there.
He was brilliant everywhere, and I think that's what it is. And I saw I just seen a comment from Gary saying, "Who do we build a team around, guys? Is it John McGinn?" I think the answer is no one. You don't build a team around anyone. That's what that's how good teams progress. Is they have a great structure and a great squad of players. And we built a team around Jack Grealish, and that once that one player leaves, that's when I
think we're now seeing that kind of hangover gone, and it's taken 2 and a bit years or however long it's taken, because we've won from a phase of never being able to win a game without him, or hardly ever been able to win a game without him, then trying to stumble around players that were kind of signed to replace him, and now we've kind of found a system and found something that we can cling to. So look, I've got to get to comments. I do want to focus on 1 or 2 other bits from the game, and then we will get into kind of the run in again and kind of talk on that. So, guys, please, as I said before, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you do want to become a member, click that join button or hit the link at the top of the description. It'd be amazing to get 1 or 2 new members joining today. I think we're up to 8 or 9 now. So if we get to 25, we'll do our first members exclusive draw. So yeah, please help support the channel if you would like to.
Is in the first prize a visit to Sam's house to do a podcast with him?
you get a free Thai massage when you come to
I'm not sure on the ending though. I don't know.
Very good. Very good.
Oh my God.
Gary said had to laugh at one of the Spurs podcasts saying they lost to Count Dracula yesterday. He's had a haircut now though. He's had a haircut.
That guy's brilliant, isn't he? We went to some villa in Aston and got schooled.
Expressions. Yeah. He's fantastic. Faz Mark says record is 18 wins in the 95-96 season and 1 win equals that. And that was when we finished 4th, says Duncan. Big T says, forgive me, lads. I should have said good evening. No, not a problem. Agrees with Rachel. Since Gerrard, we've come a long way. Look where Arsenal were last year to this year. We'll be stronger, extra strong next year. I agree. Michael said, on your pre-match show, I said that Kane will die for a pen, and surprise, what happens. We'll come to that. I did want to cover that in a second. I do just want to get some. I'll come to transfers and stuff. I'll star all these. Paul says, Rich, I think Villa will get 7th and Brentford will beat Spurs. Fingers crossed. Europe on the cards. We've got to keep Martinez, though. No go again. Transfer stuff we'll come to. AVFC US says Spurs could drop all 6 from here with Leeds fighting relegation. They are at Leeds on the final day. Absolutely. Anything more on the game? I do want to cover this. Rich Edwards says Villa Park sounded great. I think the first half, we were we scored. That was brilliant, and we were kind of waiting for something to happen. But then once we got that second goal, it kind of reminded me of the playoff semi-final against West Brom, where every kind of end of the ground was singing, the every week we follow and the Villa anthems and stuff. And it was brilliant, wasn't it? For about 10 minutes, the atmosphere was great all game. But for that kind of 10, 15 minutes, it was just hairs on the back of your neck sort of atmosphere, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. We were playing well. We were dominating, and you can't beat that atmosphere down Villa Park when you've got the fans supporting the team and it's going well. It a bit nervy for the last 10 minutes, so obviously it wasn't as loud, but yeah, there was 10-15 minutes where you wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world.
100%. Sam, yourself, I know was it your first game for a little while? I mean, and
I've been doing more away games.
Yeah. So what did you feel about the atmosphere?
Incredible. It was the best I've seen it in years since the championship. It was 10 minutes before the game, after we finished our prawn sandwiches in the box, we went onto the balcony just to soak it in. And I couldn't believe the noise 10-20 minutes before the game. And it continued through the whole game. You had all those things being thrown from the top of the claret and blue strips and stuff like that. It was incredible. And I didn't hear the Spurs fans until they scored that penalty. I didn't hear anything. It was absolutely electric. And the Villa fans, I know George talks about it a lot. I don't know if he talks about it here, but he does quite often question the atmosphere inside Villa Park and the noise and stuff like that. And because I've done a lot of away games this year, you kind of get that, that sense that I'm in the away fan, so it's always noisy. But I've not heard Villa Park like that in many years, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic, and just good to. I think did you have your daughter with you, Rich?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So I had Aidan with me, and I think his win record's getting better now. Like he's got 3 wins and a draw now. He's got a few defeats.
I tell you what, my son Nathan, his win record is incredible.
I know,
he's 7 months old, and since he's come, we've been forget Unai Emery. It's my boys. It's changing our fortunes.
Yeah, no, it's great. Obviously, seeing the atmosphere like that, and it was just fantastic. Just finally on the game, like you said, Rich, you touched on a tense end sort of final 5-10 minutes. 1, the penalty. Was it a penalty? And 2, the refereeing performance. I mean, a lot of criticism on Twitter. I don't know if he had as bad a game as I thought. I just felt like I thought Tottenham they're a very, very, very physical side that go through the back of you quite a lot. And I thought he could have stamped on a few, no pun intended, stamped on a few of those challenges at early doors.
Yeah, I think Romero's probably lucky to stay on the pitch. I think he could have got an earlier yellow card before he did get one. I mean, referees just get a bad rep regardless. You never come away from a game going, "Oh, referee had a good performance." VAR doesn't help. The length of time it took to call the penalty was ridiculous, and also the amount of offsides that were allowed to play on. I appreciate that now happens, but I think the control could have been better. The penalty, was it a penalty? Yeah, it was a penalty every day of the week. Martinez didn't foul Kane, but that doesn't matter anymore. Kane's very good at that, and I think I mentioned in our WhatsApp group, that's one of the things Watkins could learn from Kane. You just got to be a bit more street smart. Kane absolutely could see that nothing was happening for Spurs, and he just made something out of nothing. Martinez gives him the opportunity to go down. Martinez doesn't need to slide out like that. He's going nowhere, and Kane just it's bread and butter for him. That is.
Yeah, I mean, Watkins had one in the first half where I think it was Emerson Royale went through him, and he didn't even claim it as a penalty. And I think sometimes,
I remember
if you put your arms up and go at the ref and get a couple of the players do it, I think that kind of, even if the ref says no, that then and you're dealing with the ref and you're dealing with the VAR now. So that then puts a little bit into the VAR's mind, going, hang on a minute, all the players are kind of appealing this. But I've got to maybe look at it a little bit more.
I think they did. I think
no, they did. What I mean is more scrutiny, because they literally looked at it and then blew the whistle and said, "No, it's not a penalty." Because part of it comes from what are the players on the pitch saying?
What's the reaction like?
Yeah. Whereas with Kane, he's like he does the movement. He's up in the air. The referee went corner, no doubt. But because the players are all up saying that's a penalty,
you're right.
They spend more time looking at. They're looking for a reason to give it. Yeah, it's a different thing.
He's a horrible bastard. He's
a
fantastic footballer, but he's an. Do you know what? I know Rich was saying about, Ollie Watkins, and he could learn from that. The Emerson Royale challenge on him on Watkins was more of a penalty than the Harry Kane penalty. That's for a start. But secondly, the way Harry Kane sort of clips his own ankles, forget offside, not offside, whatever. He clips his own ankles. He chips the ball out of play so that Martinez doesn't get his hands on it, and he initiates a contact with Martinez. He buys that penalty. He did it before. He's done it with Douglas Luiz before against Villa. He's a horrible little bastard. And do you know what? I don't mind a bit of integrity in the game. If I see a Villa fan a Villa player, just like blatantly cheating and buying a penalty, I wouldn't. It's not something I'd feel proud of as a fan. And I might be the anomaly. I know a lot of people will say, "Well, the game's the game. That's how it goes. For me, I don't want players doing that in football. I think it's a shitty way to win. I think it's a shitty way to get a penalty. I think that he lacks integrity, and Kane's diving, I think, is the only smear on him as a footballer. You know,
But,
I just hate it. I can't stand it. It might be a personal thing. I don't like
but
it.
your point now about diving, a player dives anywhere else on the pitch and it's a yellow card. You know, it's such a fine line. I agree with you. Your point is he's a nasty football player in that you would rather look at someone and go, they stayed on their feet, they had the ball, they tried to get a shot off. You don't want to, like we talk about our kids going to the football. You don't want to say to your children, that's how you play. You've got to leave a foot in, get fouled. You know, you want to be able to look at a striker or whoever and go, yeah, they stayed on their feet and they tried to do the right thing.
Did you see Zhang yesterday, the highlights for the Wolves game? I don't know if anyone saw that, but he was sort of one-on-one with, I think it was De Gea. And De Gea comes in, silly challenge, just about clips him a little bit, throws him off balance. And Zhang like stumbles and stays on his feet and then tries to kind of like go around and stuff like that. And I was watching it with my mate, who's a Spurs fan. He was like, well, if he'd have done what Harry Kane would have done there, De Gea would have been sent off. And I was like, but you barely touched him. It's not like there's going down when there's contact to kind of emphasize the point that I can kind of get behind it because the refs don't give it otherwise. But if you're buying a foul and you're initiating contact and you're chipping the ball out of play, it's just so orchestrated. It's just it's horrible. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, it didn't change the result. I wish Harry Kane took penalties for England as well as he takes them for Spurs. But yeah, it is what it is, and it didn't affect us in the long run. I think if it had done, if that was 2-2 or 3-2, I think Villa fans would be absolutely fuming about that.
Yeah.
But nothing got said about it on Match of the Day. Nothing got said about it in the media.
Of course, they didn't. Like, Kane's a poster boy. He's the England captain. They're not going to put the booting on him, are they?
Yeah. I think Gary sums up like the Emery and Gerrard thing. Is Gerrard was a mistake. Most teams make them. Look at who we have recovered ground, unlike some clubs, and you see some of the clubs and they made multiple managerial changes this season and it still hasn't helped them. You know, Leeds have having to turn to Sam Allardyce to kind of to get them out of trouble. We just have to count ourselves lucky that, fair enough, the Gerrard experiment didn't work. The owners acted decisively and got the man in that they wanted, and it's now turned around because he turned Newcastle down, Unai Emery. We might not have even got him. And equally, someone else could have come in and took him off us first, and got first dibs on him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just have to count ourselves lucky. So, Sam, you kind of intimated there. We got the win, 57 points. We were looking for Arsenal to do us a favour this today. Maybe it was the fact that because Man City was so comfortable against Everton, maybe that kind of gave them a little bit of a, I don't know, left them feeling on a bit of a downer. But Brighton, very good team, as you've quite rightly pointed out. But yeah, Brighton are on 58 points. Got a great win at the Emirates, 3-0.
Yeah,
we were thinking it's on now for Europe. I know we have to concentrate on what we can do, but even winning both those games or even getting 4 points or whatever, it's still not a guarantee, is it?
No, I mean, look, let's start off with talking about Brighton. If you think about the whole season, the games that they've had, the way that they've played, not just the results, but the actual football they're playing, Brighton are well worth 6th place at least. Yeah. They were fantastic today. They've been fantastic all season. I've been honestly drop jaw watching Brighton this year. They're almost unrecognizable from the Brighton of like a few years ago at the start of Potter's reign. I think full credit to Brighton. I think they deserve it overall over the length of the season, and table doesn't lie. So fair play to them. Every time you try and like Arsenal, they go and do Arsenal things.
Yes.
So
yes,
I mean,
you can't rely on them,
for
you?
Villa, no, I think for Villa, look, I think our focus now is, can we get 7th? Spurs have got Brentford and Leeds. Villa have got Liverpool and Brighton. it's going to be a tough ask. I think I wouldn't begrudge Brighton in sixth place. I thought after their loss to Everton at 5-1, I thought, hold on a second, maybe the games are catching up with them. Maybe they're coming unhinged. And I think I don't know if anyone else agrees with this or not, but I don't like the fact that Brighton have had 3-4 games in hand all season. It's kind of it throws me off. I think that they should have been made to catch up quicker. We've got 2 weeks left of the Premier League season, and they're still on 33, 34 games. I don't like it. Yeah. It doesn't sit right with me. So it would have been nice for them to catch up earlier, so we knew where we were at, and sort of plan accordingly. But the game's a game. Happy for Brighton. I think they deserve it. I think they do well in Europe as well. And now we've just got to focus on trying to get seventh, because I think with the number of games that Brighton have in hand, plus their game at Southampton, I just don't see us getting ahead of them.
Yeah, I also think the way the results went today with Brighton beating Arsenal, by the time they play Man City will have won the league. They'll have one eye, hopefully. Well, maybe not hopefully. It depends which way you look at it. But I think they'll have one eye on the Champions League final as well. So Brighton get an easier running against Man City. I think by the time we play them, we'll be playing for seventh, and they will have had sixth wrapped up. But you're right, Sam. Yeah. The game should have cut up quicker. We should be in a position now, knowing. But if they had, we might be sat here going, "We got no chance of catching them. They've done really well. They are where they are."
Yeah. Well, they've got. Go on, Sam. Sorry. Go on.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, there's a comment from Gary talking about Brighton and their bubble bursting, because eventually they're going to sell the best players and it will come back to bite them. The reason that I really like Brighton is because they've got a great infrastructure and their recruitment is insane. So they've already sold some of their best players in Trossard and Basuma and Cucurella, and they've lost what would already be considered their best players over the last 2 seasons. And they've gone and replaced them with, putting Pascal Gross in a fullback position, Matoma in the middle. They've found Caicedo out of nowhere, and Estepina, and these players that they've got play. Their recruitment and their talent, their talent scouting at Brighton is absolutely fantastic. I don't see Brighton getting any worse, even if they sell their players. Alexis McAllister, where did he come from? Now a World Cup winner. Their recruitment is absolutely insane, and the utilization of players who I would have thought their careers would be done. For example, the Danny Welbecks of this world. He's been really good this season. So we can sit there and say, wish for Brighton's downfall, but I like Brighton. I think they're doing everything the right way.
Yeah. I agree. I just think it's when we're in competition with them, we kind of want them to stumble a little bit, but it's not out of disrespect for them. I think they, we've pulled Tottenham into it through our great form and their own bad form, but consistently Brighton have been there, and when they've had a couple of bad results, they've always backed it up with a win like an Arsenal today, or they've gone and beaten Man United at their place and stuff like that. So look, it's full credit to them. They have got to go to Newcastle. They've got to go to Newcastle on Thursday, and I love it. I would love it.
I'd love it if we meet them.
But yeah, they've got Newcastle, and obviously Newcastle need a win after only picking up a point yesterday. So that's going to be, St James Park will be rocking on that night. I can't see anything else than the Brighton win against Southampton, even though they'll say, the pressure's off.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a Newcastle fan on that day. I'm a City fan on that day. I'm a Southampton fan on that day. I'm just saying I wouldn't begrudge them if they did do it. But yeah, I mean, fuck Brighton. Like I want.
No, I agree.
I want that Europa League more than anything. Do you know what I mean? That's the dream. To be in that competition this year, that's had the likes of Juventus and Barcelona and Man United and Sevilla and all these fantastic teams. The Europa League's actually got really tasty this year. Roma, I'd be all for it if we could get into the Europa. And I think it really helps with recruitment as well, being able to offer that European football. I don't think it will be the be all and end all, but I'm sure we'll get onto recruitment later. But it would be great. So I'm not backing Brighton by any means. I'm not that nice a guy, but you've got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, 100%. And look, it's not, and I don't think it's. I don't necessarily think it's Brighton. Like, I think that they will get enough points, like you said, Rich, pre-playing us to get them into that sixth position. I do think they'll pick up, I would say hopefully not, but I think they do. But Spurs, on the other hand, Brentford, they've got to play, and then Leeds away. Now that might bring Brentford into the equation. Maybe we want to draw in that game. Again, can't talk predicting results, because who would have predicted 5-1 defeat for Brentford against Everton, and then they go and beat Arsenal 3-0. But yeah, Tottenham against Brentford, and then Leeds away for Tottenham. That's a fairly tough couple of games for Tottenham, because, like say, Brentford got the win today against West Ham. That puts them into a position where they can potentially nick 7th. So they'll want to keep pushing for the rest of the season.
Well, we saw how spineless Spurs were against us, and I can't really see that changing. We spoke about Ryan Mason being having certain relationships with certain players at Spurs. I think. I mean, I've listened to a few interviews with Ryan Mason, and he does come across as a nice guy. And I think the fact that his football career ended the way it did, there's always probably going to be a connection with Spurs. They probably feel a little bit responsible for that. But the Spurs players don't need a friend. They need a manager like Conte, or call it like it is. And I just see them falling away. And you're right, Brentford are going to go after that, and they've had a really good season as well. Like Brighton, their recruitment's been brilliant. You could point the same finger of blame around selling your best players at Brentford as well as Brighton. I don't think Brentford have got as good a scouting network as Brighton have got, but I think they're going to have a strong end to the season, and Spurs could end up being 9th, and then it all depends whether it's us or Brentford after Brighton for me, really.
Yeah. It's all in our hands. I mean, obviously we're going to do a Liverpool preview. They play Leicester tomorrow. They're in good form. We don't generally do well at Anfield. Sam, can you see anything other than? I know you're not too encouraged, but if there's any man to beat to get a result and to put a tactical plan in place to get a result at Anfield, it's Unai Emery.
Yeah, I mean, Anfield's a tough place to go. There's not. I don't give us much of a chance. But with Unai, it's really funny actually, because before Emery came in, I used to really overthink what we're going to do, how we're going to play with, and now I don't. I kind of just think he's right. He'll sort out the best way to do it, and I think whether we win there or not, we'll go there. We'll set up well. It's really difficult with that high line with the likes of Salah and Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez. It's just such a tough place to go. Anfield really is a fortress, and that atmosphere that we had at Villa Park this weekend, that's kind of there every week at Anfield. Yep. So, and they've got a lot to play for. They've got Champions League that they're trying to go to. I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I've got everything crossed for it. I don't expect a result there. But I'd definitely take one.
Yeah. Rich is trying to join and become a member. I'm not quite sure what you're finding tough, mate. If anyone can help him in the chat who has joined, please do. I know you're having trouble the last episode or a couple of episodes ago. I have pinned a link at the top of the chat. It should help. If you click that, it should, fingers crossed, take you to the part where you do join and become a member. I'm not sure you have to have a Play Store account or something. I'm not sure where it takes you to, but or if you actually go into the Villa Park Pod channel, there should be a join button that takes you to do that. So, but yeah, if anyone can help Rich in the chat, that'd be great. Let's just. I've got I'm trying to figure out all the comments here. Where are we?
I've moved the pants, everyone. So I've moved the pants. And it's not Steam. This is I'm going to work on the setup. Jeez.
Shaz has said, Sam, all you'll know is about Kane, yet you act like Villa have never had any players who play for fouls. Didn't the great Jack Grealish do this every week? Body in front of the ball and playing for fouls. Look, I think he said that we should do that, to be honest. Adamski, we can beat Liverpool. Go on, sorry, mate.
So I was going to say I'll answer that quick. Shaz, fuck you. That's my answer. Shaz is my best mate. He's a Spurs fan who came with me.
There we go.
We've already had this argument. Jack Grealish did play for fouls, but they were always fouls. He never simulated them. He never bought them like Harry Kane did. So get to bed. You've got work in the morning, mate. Do one.
Adamski said we can beat Liverpool if we stay on script for 90 minutes. Unai was happy, but also a bit annoyed, I think, that we lost focus. Paul said, didn't we beat Brighton in the first game? I think it was Emery's second game, Second game in charge, I want to say. We'll come to that, Gary. Hopefully we can recreate the 7-2 against his dream villain. Rich says, big attraction, European footy. 100% players want to play in Europe. Absolutely. Oh, Michael asked me the question earlier. Did I get a message from the Spurs fan who was giving me a bit on one of the other podcast channels? Yeah, I did. Well, to be fair, the first thing I did, there he is. Do you had any messages from that disrespectful Spurs fan? The first thing I did after we won was send him a tweet with like those like eyes, like, you know, those wide eyes. And to be fair to him, he did come back and he just said, like, fair play, you played really well. And he's happy to take the L. So, but look, after Brighton won today, I think he could well be right that we're not getting Europe. But I think my argument was we deserve to be in the conversation. So that was my argument. But yeah, just a couple of comments that I've starred, lads. More around like signings and stuff. So JB said we will sign 4 or 5 max. Unai is not daft. He won't kill the spirit of this team. A lot of these lads deserve to stay. 4 big signings for the first team will be huge. Are you and that camp, Rich? Do you think he'll won't make too many big signings, like too many signings? Sorry, I always think if you sign in 6, 7, 8 players, it can be a few too many.
Yeah, I think we need to strengthen our bench as we get some players back from injury, likes of Cash and Diego Carlos and Coutinho. That's going to add some quality to our bench. There's not a massive amount to fix at Aston Villa at the moment. You know, you want to bring some competition in so people don't get too complacent, but you can't argue with the record that he's had since he started. And he had the chance in January, okay, albeit he would have only spent a few months working with some of the players, but he had the chance in January to go out and buy. And I know it's not as simple in the January transfer window as just picking out who you want and going to get them. But I'd be surprised if we were to purchase anything other than another winger. I'm still jury's out for me on another striker. I think Archer coming back, Duran. I think he might be okay with what we've got. I think we need a full back because Ashley Young has been phenomenal this season, but you know he's not going to have the legs to do it week in, week out next year. Probably another centre half. I think. I think Mings and Cons have both been really good this season. But we could do with someone that pops up with a few more goals from set pieces. Yeah, 4, 5, I think, and there'll be a couple, you know, late teens or early 20s £1 million that will just be squad players that aren't going to come in straight away. But I think there'll definitely be 3 or 4 that will make you kind of sit up in your seat a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so anyway.
Sam, loads of comments coming in about like rumours about Ferran Torres. Rich is saying Torres rumours, ? Dale, rumours of Lo Celso and Pau Torres. And also like a lot of praise for Cameron Archer. Rich saying that Archer's natural clinical goal scoring and got to be in the team next season. Nigel think Archer will be a better striker than Watkins in 2 years. Do you? And then Dale's asked, do we go and sign a number 9? If that player is to come to Villa who works as hard as Watkins but scores 50 to 20 a season. So like kind of more questions. It's 2 or 3 questions in one really. Like are we going after the quality of a Ferran Torres, or are we saying like, look, you know, let's kind of bring Archer through into the team, and where are we going to find that 15, 20 goal a season striker? Or do we have all of them?
Are you asking me if I rate Archer, Rich?
No, we know you rate Archer. We know you rate Archer.
Nah, I mean, look, Archer's fantastic. I'd love for him to come back in the fold. And I think he deserves game time. I think it would be really difficult to ask him to come in and lead the line next season. I think it would be so much pressure. Not saying he couldn't do it, but I think he needs to be. He's still young. He needs that kind of progression, and to them, I hope one day he will be Villa's main striker. He's a lad from our academy. He's a Villa fan. I'd love to see that. I think there is a striker. There must be a striker. I've seen Dusan Vlahovic linked. I don't know what's in that. Obviously, he's at Juventus at the moment. It was a very, very expensive signing for them. I've seen the likes of Ferran Torres, which would be absolutely incredible. I think we've got to remember we've got this guy coming in from Barcelona, the director of football. He's going to have a massive influence on signings, not necessarily in personnel, because I think Unai Emery is going to work with him on that. But I think in terms of being able to attract players and the negotiation and stuff like that, he's super experienced. It looks like, do you remember when we got relegated? We had a very French feel about our team.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going in a Spanish, South American direction at the moment. And I'm here for it, because some of the players that we've been linked with are really top level Champions League players. Ferran Torres is a Champions League player. So is Vlahovic. So is Pau Torres. I would argue Guendouzi is as well. I've seen that name a bit.
Lo Celso. Do you think he's
I never rated Lo Celso at Spurs, I'll be honest. But that faith, is so nice to have faith in your manager, because if he wants to bring him in, he must want him in for a reason. But I think we've clearly got a war chest this summer. We've got money to spend. And I think one of the comments there said, "I'd love to be a fly on the wall this summer in the transfer room," and I'm the exact same. I've got no idea what's going to happen. I don't know what the validity of any of these rumors are. Are we really going to go and sign a player like Ferran Torres? Can we attract him? Or would he rather go to Tottenham or an Arsenal or a Man United? All of whom need good wingers. I don't know, but I'm here for it, whatever happens. I don't think we'll have a quiet summer.
No, I don't either. And I think we've covered on quite a few. And I mean, we love talking transfers and we're so excited about it. But I think a few fringe players go. I think a couple of people have asked about what happens to the young players. How do they get a chance? Martin saying that Archer, Emery does want to take a look at Archer. And I don't think he could fail to not have to take a look at him. I think what Archer's got, I know we've commented on this many times, is I don't think you can coach it, that movement in the box, that ruthless finishing, that kind of, the goal he scored, I think in the last championship game of the season, where it bounced down, he was just there to put it in top corner. You don't see Watkins doing that, and that's the difference.
Archer's a different. I mean, I didn't want to say too much about Archer, because every time I come on, I do my monologue about how excellent he is as a player. I hope people understand at this point how I rate him and how I feel about him. He's got potential to be, one of the best in the Premier League. I've already said he reminds me of Jermaine Defoe in his movement, in his goal scoring ability. I think he's fantastic. I think it's not just Archer though. We have to whilst we also look at new signings, we have to look at how we can implement other youth players. We've got, for me, there's 4 or 5. There's Kane Kessler-Hayden, Archer, Tim Eric Bonham, Aaron Ramsey, and who else? Archer, is it? I don't know if I said that twice.
Yeah.
But those are the players that for me, we need to start thinking about how we can incorporate them. I'd rather have Kane Kessler-Hayden on the bench rather than like an Ashley Young. I'd rather have the young. I love Ashley Young in the club, by the way. I hope he stays on as something in the club. But I think we need to start incorporating these really exceptional players. Otherwise, we're going to lose them. But if we do sell, say for example, we sold Eric Bonham for 15-20 million because he's had a great season, then you almost think, so be it. As long as that's what the club feels is best. But only if they go out and buy a certified baller in that position. We don't need him because we've bought someone in who's at a certain level that even if Tim works out, that he's going to get to. So you have to wait and see what the club wants to do.
Yeah. Tiwan's joined us. Great to have you on board. She mentions Jade and Philogene Badace. I think he's one that we get money for and goes on to have a career elsewhere. He got Young Player of the Year at Cardiff in the Championship. I think he's got a really good ability. Not quite sure, as Adam says, not quite sure he's got enough for the Prem, but definitely one that we can go on and sell and get good money for. Finn Azaz had a great season at Plymouth before he got injured, and then he came back and scored a couple in their last game of the season. I think that they've won the League One, and he had a massive part to play in that. He's slightly older than some of the other lads, so I don't know whether Emery will take a look at him, goal scoring, attacking midfielder, or whether he goes out on loan, or whether we get money for him, because it could be one that Plymouth try and sign. So all these things, Rich, it comes to the fact that I keep saying this: your youth players are a production line, because 99 times out of 100, these players don't make it in the first team. They just don't. They don't make it in a Premier League first team in the first 11. But if you can get 6 or 7, 8, 9 players going out for 5, 10, 15 millions, that all of a sudden means you can buy a 50, 60, 70 million pound player. And the one that does go through, let's say it's a Cameron Archer, they then become worth 60, 70, 80 million.
Yeah, you look. I'm looking at the table now, and I'm trying to think how many of those teams above us have more than one player that's come through the youth system. You just don't have it. So yeah, Sam, there's probably 4, 5, 6 that we'll be keeping our eye on. But Rich, I agree. It's it's players that get sold for 5, 10, 15 million that then pay for the academy to run for the next 1, 2, 3 years, and if you get 1, 2 coming through every couple of years, what have I just missed?
No, sorry. So he's just put. Someone just said, "What about Louise Barry?"
That's why I put it up, dream villain. But he corrected himself. To be fair, he has corrected himself.
It just doesn't work out the way we would like it to work out. We'd love a team in the Premier League full of Villa youngsters that have come through, and it's just you sell them, they go on, they play for other teams. Some go on to be brilliant, and I always remember selling Cahill because we couldn't get minutes for him, and he went on and he was brilliant. And for every Cahill, there's 5 or 6 that don't work out, and you're happy that you got a few quid for them.
I hope, just as Gary says there, I think buyback clauses, if we can start incorporating them, a lot of clubs don't like them, which is why they're not more widely used. Generally, it's look, if we're buying the player, we're buying the player. We don't want you to be able to buy him back. I would like to implement some buyback clauses if we do sell, for example, the likes of Timur Bonham, because he's one I can see going, which is a shame because I really like him.
He's just had an operation because he didn't get. I think a few Villa fans were like, "Why isn't he getting into the under 20 squad for England?"
Yeah,
but he's just had an operation, so I think that explains.
He was quality. His international career with England so far has been really successful.
Yeah,
he's been really good. I could see. There's another comment from Shaz. I'll touch on that. We were having a debate all throughout the game. We were talking about Emi Martinez. The rumors that Emi Martinez might leave. Obviously, it's really important that we keep him. We started talking about his value. I said with the World Cup, Copa America, FIFA Goalkeeper of the Year, the Golden Glove at the World Cup, and everything that he's done for Villa week in, week out, how good our defense has been. 6 goals conceded since February. That it doesn't make sense for Villa to let Emi Martinez go for less than 70 million. He's got a 5-year contract. If he does go, I would expect that sort of money. He argues that Emi Martinez is worth about 40 million max, or 35, as he's put in his comment. I don't know if you want to find it. I don't know if this is
a question. It's a fair debate, to be honest. I mean, look, if Kepa's going for 60 odd million and Alisson went for 68, Alisson's a fantastic goalkeeper, don't get me wrong. But like you've listed all those honours, Sam, and he's done it in the last 2 years. Is he 29, 30 maybe?
29. He's 29. He's got 6-7 years left as a top level goalkeeper.
You've got to be talking close to world record FIFA goalkeeper. You've got to be.
I think he's world class. I think he's better than Alisson. I'd go as far as to say that. I think he's better than Edison as a goalkeeper. His distribution is nowhere near as good. But I think he's a better goalkeeper. I think he's clutch. He makes the defense comfortable. And even yesterday against Spurs, a couple of the offside chances that they had when Son tried to take it round him and he put that pressure on, the one-on-one save with Harry Kane, he wins you games. He wins you points.
I was
Points
literally just about to say that. The great man Brian Clough himself says a good goalkeeper wins you 12 to 15 points a season. And it's goalkeepers and defenses that win your leagues, win your titles, because it's the 1-0 wins that you get. It's the 2-1 wins that you get where a goalkeeper saves a shot right at the end of a game, or claims a cross, or does something in the big moments. And Rich Martinez sums that up. Like even this, the times when we were finishing at 10th, 11th under Dean Smith, the amount of games that we won 1-0 where it was Martinez keeping us in it. And then this season now we've got better players and the better tactics. Then, he's gonna win teams 12, 15 points a season.
He's great. And Sam, you talk about all the accolades that he's won. I'd still say he's improved over the last 3 months with his distribution. He went through a bit of a spell where he couldn't pick a pass out, and now he's I'm confident and comfortable when him and Mings and Konza are playing the ball round the back. I agree. You're probably going to have to put 70 million quid to the Villa to get him. But why would Villa sell him? I'd much rather, I know Rich Edwards said if we sold Archer, it'd break his heart. I'd much rather sell Archer for 20 million and use that 20 million to buy the players than try and squeeze another 20 million out of a Martinez deal to help, provide strength in other areas.
You've got to think as well, Rich. I mean, there might be. He said it before. He thinks he can play Champions League football. I think he recognised that he can play football at the top level, and you have that battle. Do you want to keep someone who doesn't really want to be there? Maybe it's Martinez saying, "Look, I feel like I've grown as much as I can at Villa."
Oh yeah, we don't know what conversations are happening, and if it gets to the point where he does want to, and there'll be lots of Champions League clubs that want to buy him. I think a fair figure, 70, 75 million quid. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the deal.
Yeah,
we'd get serious money for him, like we did for Grealish. I use that as an example. It's not about what he's worth in the transfer market; it's what he's worth to Villa, and what he's worth his weight in gold to Villa. So
yeah. Guys, we've got over 80 watching, which is phenomenal at 11:05. I think we're going to have to call it a night soon, but I think I checked we had 45 likes. So if you're coming in and watching and you haven't yet hit the like button, please do hit that like button, get us over the 80 likes. We've got over 80 watching. If you're new to the channel, like Dream Villain, hit that subscribe button, help us get to 1,500 and beyond. And if you do want to join the channel, I know Rich wants to. He's had a couple of issues, but I have put the link at the top of the chat for $1.99, not $9.99, $1.99. Join the channel as a member and help support the channel and be included in exclusive members only prize draws. And why would he leave? He loves the Villa, wants to do it. He does love the Villa. Look, players love playing for Villa, but it's about their career, isn't it? It's not about whether they love the club or not. Like, I always think that when we hear players do these interviews, like when they say, "Oh, I love the club and I love everything about the club," that doesn't mean that they're not going to leave.
Yeah, of course.
Well, you say that, Rich, but Harry Kane has shot his career in the head to stay at Spurs, so you never know. Maybe Martinez.
We'll see. We'll see.
I do think on that point, though, Rich, Martinez's career is very different to a lot of players. He played second fiddle for almost a decade.
I agree, but that's even more. Yeah, that's even more. He wants to kind of.
Yeah, I guess
he kind of feels like he's been held back. He wants to get more. Achieve as much as he can. What I just mean is that like when we kind of get carried away by players loving the club as much as we love the club, and if Jack Grealish, who apparently was, look, fair play to him, like all of that dislike has gone. I think absolutely fair play to him. But if he leaves Villa and he's like a pure Villa through and through from 8 years old, then any player can leave.
I mean, sorry, just going to say on the Grealish point, I don't know about you two, but I love seeing him start against Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final.
He's been brilliant this season.
I said the same thing. It's like I felt like he belonged there, and I feel like the thing is about Villa, we're in such a precarious place where we're really, you can see we're really trying to push on and start competing at a higher level now. So I feel like when Jack moved, we couldn't offer anything close to what City are offering. And depending on where Martinez goes, if he was to say, for example, he joined Tottenham as an example, I feel like we're at the level where we can start competing with Tottenham. We are competing now for position. So for me, I wouldn't like that sideways step. If he's going to go to a Barcelona or something, fair play, go do your thing.
Yeah. Quick one to finish, lads. We always do this on our Gary's request. After the results of this weekend, Forest getting a draw, Leeds getting a draw, Everton getting beat. Obviously, Leicester play tomorrow. Give us a little relegation update. Let's have a look at the table.
I'm looking at
get
it
involved
now,
in the chat, people. What your thoughts are, and it's just I always think it's so great us being involved in a European.
Just looking down on these teams, it's much better. Yeah,
I reckon it stays as it is. Southampton, Leicester, Leeds, in that order. Because Everton, I know that they lost 3-0 to Man City today, but what I saw of that game, they look like they've come to life.
They've got a bit of heart, haven't they? They've got
easier games. They've got Wolves and Bournemouth. Bournemouth are on the beach already. Wolves are kind of on the beach, apart from when they play Villa, obviously. Leeds have got tough running. They've got West Ham and Spurs. Hoping Leeds will do us a favour. Can't really see it. And Forest have actually been really good, I think. They drew against Chelsea yesterday. They beat Forest. They've got Arsenal, which is obviously, I don't know, maybe Arsenal will be so disheartened from the shit that they played today that they might be on the beach already. And then they've got Palace away at the last game of the season, so I think they'll be all right.
I think Forest probably need a point, and they'll be safe. I can't see a Leeds. I can't see any.
We had Leeds staying up the other day. Yeah, Rich, we had Leeds staying up the other day, but I mean they got a good. They'll probably kick. I mean, going 1-0 up should be 2-0 up, missing a penalty, then going 2-1 down.
Yeah, Bamford, they just don't. They can't get the ball in the back of the net with Bamford. No. He's awful. And you know what? No one deserves it more than Bamford. Fuck him.
I know. Yeah. To rescue it from 2-1 down to get 2-2.
Yeah.
West Ham, they're not going to get. They're on 37 points. They're fine. But they have if they have a decent result against AZ Alkmaar, are they going to think make quite a few changes? I think Leicester are down. I think Leicester are down. I think it's between Leeds and Everton.
I don't want Everton to go down because that's 6 points for us every season.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not even joking.
Leeds is a tough away game for us.
Yeah. Leeds is always tough. They kind of create that atmosphere. Everton is just guaranteed 6 points every season. I'm not here for it. We'll take it.
I'm going to put my neck on the line. Just because I want Leeds to beat Spurs, I'm going to say Everton. I'm going to say Everton, Leicester, Southampton.
I think it'll be as it is. Yeah, I think it'll be as it is. I think it'll be Leeds, Leicester, Southampton. I think Everton can probably win their next 2 games. They were unbelievable against Brighton. For a good 20 minutes, we're talking about how good Brighton are, and Everton, their game management was phenomenal, and Dwight McNeil was like Messi. It was just unreal. So and they've got that in their locker. I think they've got enough to stay up. And Pickford has been fantastic. The last few games, some of his saves.
I mean, don't forget they could both win on the last day of the season, couldn't they? Leeds and Everton could win, and then Leeds go down. So it's not as if because it's not. Maybe you're right. I think you've turned me. I think Everton. I think it goes to the last game. I do think it goes to the last game. I really do.
I think Southampton could stay up though.
Hey,
I'm waiting for someone to bite in the comments.
No, they won't. No, they won't. They're already down.
No way, they're already down. I think it will stay. But Leicester do have a game in hand, and Leicester have the players. They've got the quality in terms.
They're at home, aren't they, to Liverpool
I think
tomorrow?
Also for Dean Smith as well. I feel like going down with Leicester will tarnish his reputation more than it should. But we're concerned at the top of the table. That's where we're looking.
Exactly.
Listen, if Dean Smith wants a job and he goes down with Leicester, I think they might keep him. If they stay up, they'll get another manager.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's gone either way, but yeah, we'll see. They've obviously they've got the game tomorrow night. Listen, lads, what a great part of just finish off. Obviously, fantastic result yesterday. Fantastic atmosphere. I don't want any kind of disappointment for how Brighton are doing. As I said before, all we can do is concentrate on ourselves, and the performance that we got yesterday should leave us and other Villa fans really positive for the next 2 games and really positive for the future.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Spurs are a good team. They've got lots of good players, and we made them look bang average. You don't get to 7th in the league by not having quality in your squad. And they came to Villa Park and we controlled the game. We looked great. The atmosphere that we've touched on was amazing. And if we don't make Europe, I mean, there's a few twists and turns still to come. I think the momentum and the narrative that there's been since Emery started is putting us in a phenomenal position.
Yeah, I think just to end on that, I think, if you look at, we talk about missed chances, and I said this on a pod or two ago. I was like, where we were, but we lost to Man United and Wolves. But apart from that, if you look at that record going all the way back, we've done exceptionally well to get where we are. Like, you really especially with the squad as it is as well. I think it's there to be improved massively. There's a lot of improvements. I think we need a right back wingers, whatever. Like we've already said, we've got to be chuffed with this season. The fact that we're in it to the last day, we've got something to play for. I'd love to see us back in Europe, but if it's not this season, I guarantee it will be next, because Unai Emery's won the trust of the board, the fans, and he's going to be able to implement what he wants to do. And I'll tell you what, if we get into a European competition with Unai Emery, watch out, because he's very good at them.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, look, lads, fantastic. The comments are amazing. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Over 80 watching tonight, and we've done 1 hour and 40 minutes. Brilliant. Look out for the shows coming up in the week. Talking Tactics with Gareth, match preview for Liverpool. But as always, remember, we all follow the Villa. Thank you, everyone.